So what are a couple of challenges that you think you're facing right now that are keeping you from doing that?
Well, I think like the main one for me it was just like my own mentality, especially because I know like last week I think was when I lost that momentum, and obviously you had an extra day off for the weekend. I feel like I just didn't come in prepared enough mentally, but also I think for me, just in regards to like the leads and stuff like that, and I talked to Monique and got her advice on some things because I was noticing that like my Credit Karma like rate table leads were like, I mean, I'm still at 20%, which isn't bad, but I was like right there at that bottom that Ray wants. And so I was like, what's going on? Like Credit Karma, they see the rate, they see the fees. I mean, what you see is what you get. What am I doing wrong that like they're inquiring and interested, and then after I get done with them, they're like, well, let me think about it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was just like lacking excitement and confidence, going over the Credit Karma and just explaining to it that it, like I was taking the exclusiveness out of it, like the campaign kind of promotion feeling out of it. And so I've been putting that back into it. I mean, it's so far I've seen, like this week's been totally different. I've locked like 5 in the last 3 days compared to like, last week I had.
So it's just a question about momentum.
Yeah,
right?
I think it was momentum, and I think it was how I was approaching the, special leads. I wasn't really making it sound very special. I think that was my issue.
Okay, yeah. So with rate table leads, I think, if you had a chance to listen to like Sakati or let's say Kevin Garcia, and I'm sure Monique's doing it too, is when they interact with these leads, they don't necessarily change, right? There's not like an enthusiasm meter that just kicks up like, hey, welcome, we love NerdWallet or we love rate table or Credit Karma. They treat it pretty much the same as any lead because they don't want to oversell it and they don't want to sound too desperate, but in doing so, they don't oversell it. And I think that's a key thing is, because sometimes when we're new or when we kind of get nervous that we don't want to underserve, we overserve. Does that make sense? So now we talk about things that is irrelevant to the buyer or they don't really care about, right? So coming from a consumer standpoint, when you engage with someone that you're about to do business with, there has to be still that kind of that connection, like that feeling, right? Where if they're giving you too much information, they don't really care, then you just didn't mesh well with that individual. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you got to pay attention to some of the things where if they're engaging and they're asking the questions. So in other words, no need to go back and like, hey, NAS's been around for over 20 years. We're privately held. We have over 300 branches, right? Unless it was warranted, unless it was actually needed, and you could put feelers out there too. Like, hey, have you ever worked with New American Funding before? And then come up with maybe 2 or 3 bullet points and that's it. And then move them straight down the line. Because everyone's so used to instant gratification. Yeah. Where they just want to push a button and just get what they see. Does that make sense? So treat it as such, but don't feel the need to make it more complicated than it is, right? And I think that probably might be something that you experience because you're very social, right? You love to talk to people, you love to create the rapport, same with you. You love to create the rapport, which are very strong suits in regards to sales, but you got to make sure that the person that you're giving it to even wants it.
Yeah,
right?
That makes sense.
Otherwise, just take them right down the line. Because the rate table lead is, we always refer to it as a layup because it is a layup. It's already sold. Now it's just a matter of the agent kind of guiding them towards how to secure it. But many agents have a problem with making the intro and they feel like they need to earn it, but it's already been earned.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Take more like of an assumptive close and just say like, let's get this locked
Correct,
in.
Yeah. Like imagine you being on a car lot and someone came in and said, hey, I want this, 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 and this. There's no need to go walk the lot anymore.
Right.
That makes sense?